You want to do something hard sometime? Not necessarily difficult physically, but difficult. Try to get some videos out on time. I started making this video you're about to watch back in June. I got these binos in April. But job and everything piles up. Crap piles up everywhere. Paperwork piles up. Life just piles up. And not able to get these videos out as much as I should. For that reason, go ahead and like them, subscribe, hit the alert button, the bell icon to get alerted when videos come out. And the other thing I'd like to talk about that's difficult is trying to compare optics, trying to compare binos. Not the easiest thing to do. Not the easiest thing to get a fair comparison of in regards to the focus of the bino. And then more difficult is the focus and the clarity of the video equipment. It's kind of a pain in the ass. But I've done my best, and in this I reviewed a pair of Tract binos, and I compared them to a pair of Vortex, as well as an inexpensive pair of Nikons, and you can see the results. I talk through it and I give you an evaluation at the end, and I give you some things to consider, some important things I think to consider at the end when you're going to make a purchase. You know, other than that, let's just get to the video. And I apologize that it takes so long for me to get videos out. What are you going to do? Oh, one good thing. Hunting tags are coming in. I got my Colorado bear tag in and the general license, as well as my license for my home state. If any of you are interested and you're a new hunter or want to gain more experience in the a mountainous terrain in the east, where you could learn how to transfer those skills to the west successfully, go ahead and email me at woodlanderpa@gmail. And I will send you a course syllabus, a course outline, type of expectations for these courses, and a general overview of these courses I've given to people for the last 5 years. Other than that, now let's get back to the video, or let's get to the video. We haven't been there yet, I guess. So, thanks. Asked to review some binos. These binos are from a company called Tract, and I got these things a while ago. I've been busy and other stuff, so I haven't had a chance to get to them. I'm going to open them now and then go through this, give you some first impressions. I'll give you some close-ups of these binos. I think particularly what I asked for were 8x42s. And then we'll go outside. Actually, I'll do some comparison inside, and then we'll go outside and do some comparisons. Oh, cool. Hat. There's a case for them. Oh my gosh. These were sent April 7th. Today is June 27th. But anyways, this conversation came about through a group out there with Cliff Gray. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there is a private group of guys out there. You can join the group, and it's growing pretty good. It's got a lot of experienced and new guys on there that are trading information back and forth. Anyways, these are made in Japan. That's better than where some of the other ones are made. This is a company, Tract Toric. You deal directly with them, and they deal with the manufacturing. Actually, and they're in my home state of Pennsylvania. These are 8x42s, 7.2 degrees. Let's see how this goes. On this box, they give the backstory and everything. And here is a lens cleaning wipe, or a lens wipe. One of the binos I was comparing is a roof prism, which is going to be the same as these, and the other one was actually a poro prism. And if you don't know the difference, roof prisms usually have straight barrels like this. Poro prisms have the offset barrels. Roof prisms have more lenses. Poro prisms have less. The less lenses you have, the less light disruption there is, and usually the clearer picture. These days, companies have gotten into coating their lenses and the picture being just as good. All right now I'm just looking at the lenses. Not a real fair comparison because I have 2 or 3 seasons on those ones, but these are definitely a lot clearer, and the price point on first thing is these eye cups roll real nice. I can already see and feel that. And then you can stop these halfway. I don't know if they'd stay. Yeah, they're not moving. The eye cups, they rock a little bit. Worse than the other ones I've got. We'll see. And then rolling for focus. Oh, ring is, I'm inside. This ring is very smooth. And again, like I said, these are made in Japan versus China. The diopter, I can't remember what that's called. I think it's a diopter. You know, you focus on one with your right eye closed, then you open and close your left eye, open your right eye. Focus, I think it's a diopter. I don't know. Anyways, it's fairly stiff, but I actually don't mind that because I don't want it to slip out of adjustment. China. And then the other ring. You can, it's actually fairly stiff, but again, I don't mind because what's going on there? Turn it out, but it won't unless I push on it. It doesn't retract. But maybe typical. I don't know. Anyways, for me, there's already I mean, I can tell the difference without. I'm trying not to sound embarrassingly. I guess some people call it a shill. I call it a schmuck. They're pretty nice. What I'm going to do now is set this up, and then I'll show you what I've noticed on these. I've already taken video of the Vortex and the Nikons, and my guess is if my camera on my phone works well, you'll see the difference here. The thing that makes me different, I suppose, than a lot of other reviewers is that I mostly use my binos for still hunting. It wouldn't bother me if Tract offered a 6x42. And I got their lowest power, which is 8x42. If I would sit on a hillside, I'm looking for movement more than anything, and I'm not judging racks. I just want to see if something's there that I'm interested in. And usually that's going to happen through movement, whether it's a flick of the ear, tail, or, you know, head movement. And 8x42 gives me a wider field of view, and they're smaller. Here's a neat little trick. If you got a kid and you're in the woods, he's bored or she's bored, and you're sitting there waiting for a critter to come in, you can give them your binos, and they can look at the thread on their pants and their fingerprints with your binos upside down. Incidentally, if you get a splinter or you're looking for a thorn or something that you stepped on, or got in your hand or whatever, flip your binos upside down. They work as magnifying glasses. Boom. See? Damn it. Focus. Boom. It's a lot better in person than trying to do it there. Anyways, these Tract. Okay, I did this portion of the evaluation inside, and in particular, I wanted some writing to compare. What I'm looking for here is I want to see how crisp the lens is on its outer edge. In the upper screen, you can see the Nikon Aculons are really poor at the outer edge. Very crisp in the center, but very poor at the outer edge. The Vortex do much better, although they are slightly more poor at the outer edge. And the importance of a good edge in your binos is just like your peripheral vision. You're going to catch most movement and most things you want to see on the edge of your lens, similar to your vision. Alright, I think from the last evaluation you can see that the Vortex was the clear winner, mostly because it's got crisp lenses out to the outer edge. So I'm going to compare the Vortex against the Tract. Here's a comparison of the edge and consistency throughout the whole lens of these Tract and Vortex binos. I think it's important to pay attention to both those aspects at the edge and through the whole lens. Alright, so I'm not going to evaluate the Nikons anymore. Clearly the Vortex were better than the Nikons, and then these two, I'll leave you to decide, which one's better. But I do want to test outside in the sunlight with a glare, or what might produce a glare. So I'm going to go catch a sunset, and then we're going to catch low light for both of these in particular, like the last few hours or a few minutes of the day. I wasn't able to film these simultaneously, so the sun wasn't at the same position, but you should be able to get an idea of what happens to the glare of these with a low-angled sun. Now I want to look at these two binos in low light. I couldn't film this simultaneously, so I ended up taking a frame shot. The Tract binos were used probably 10 minutes after the Vortex, so it looks a little darker. Pay attention to the lines of the buildings. That'll give you an idea how crisp the lenses are. This last test seems a little weird, but I thought it was the best way to check for a gas leak within the lenses. I put those in the refrigerator, actually forgot about them, the freezer, and forgot about them for 4 hours. Once I was able to get the frost off the exterior of the lenses, I couldn't see any condensation, therefore I assumed no air leaks on the interior of the lenses. Okay, now what I want to do is go ahead and provide an overview of the three binos I tested. The first one we're going to talk about is the Nikon Aculon. Here you can see the different properties I've evaluated, as well as what I think the Aculon performs well at. One other thing it does well is it gives you a wide field of view. The other thing I like about this bino is actually the prism. That Poro prism and the body style actually fit the way I carry binos very well. They're short and wide, and they fit under my arm. I carry my binos under my arm, usually on my right hand side. The other good quality about these Aculons is that they're fairly heavy. I think they are the heaviest of the group at 26.8 ounces. Now that may sound counterintuitive to some people, but when you're using binos held in your hand, and sometimes, actually often, even on a tripod, a heavier weight bino can make your movement steadier and easier to focus and use the binos, similar to a heavyweight rifle with its recoil versus a lightweight rifle with its recoil. And the other good quality of these Aculons is they are inexpensive. But in the testing you heard that I didn't continue to test these anymore because I find that their edge quality is poor. Only about 60% of that lens is usable with clarity. Here are the qualities for the Vortex. You can see they are a little lighter. They have a larger eye relief, which means they'll fit a larger range of faces and eyes, which is a very good quality. As far as the waterproofing, they are water and fog and shock resistant. And then their pricing, they're about twice as expensive as the Aculons. Here are the qualities for the Tract binos. Their field of view is the narrowest, and I don't know if that's because of the extra eye relief or the length between the lenses, but they give up 20 feet to the Vortex approximately, and almost 40 feet to the Nikons. All right, let's go review and actually assign some values to each of these properties and make choices of who provides the best value in each category. First, we're going to start with the field of view, and I already talked about it briefly, but you can see that the Aculon gives you the widest field of view. I think that's because they've got that shorter, squattier body. The Tract binos have the largest eye relief, which means they probably are going to fit the widest range of faces and eyes, to include the wearing of eyeglasses. All right, the prism type. This is where I would differ from a lot of people. I really like the Poro prisms. That Poro prism gives you a nice depth of field, two-dimensional, where you can see
depth throughout the area you're looking, as well as there's less lenses, which if they would fully multi-coat them, they would allow more light transmission. Speaking of coating, the Vortex and the Tracts are both fully multi-coated. As well as the lenses, the Tract have a unique glass that's a little bit better quality glass than the Vortex. As far as waterproofing, I give the best value to the Tract. They are waterproof, and the reason I did that is because they tell you the depth and how many minutes they were tested at being waterproof, and fog proof and shock proof as well. And I believe I tested that pretty well with 4 hours in a freezer much below zero, and pulled it out in high humidity and high heat. Yes, the outer edges of those lenses did fog, but they didn't allow any water vapor or moisture to the interior of those, and temperature changes are very hard on binos. This next category, again, you may find it counterintuitive, but I find the weight of the heavier binos to be easier to use when I'm holding them in my hands. A heavier bino just gives you some more balance and introduces less of your movement to that bino, which reduces eye fatigue. And it also helps when you're tracking on a tripod. Same reason, just for the smoothness. Comfort, I like the Poro Prism build. I like the fullness of those binos in my hands, but the Tract were rubber coated, easier to hold, as well as the Vortex, but the Tract just felt better in my hands, as well as their focus ring. Their focus ring was smoother, and that diopter, which I was having problems with in the beginning, with it not staying, or I had to push it back down, I didn't know that those things locked. Once I figured that out, I didn't have any problems with that diopter ring. Image quality, both the Vortex and the Tract give a good image quality in the lens, but there's a more important quality I think we need to talk about, and that is the quality at the edge. You can see in the testing that the Aculons did poorly. For that reason, I no longer evaluated the Aculon, and kind of for a hunter, ruled them out. The other edge quality, which can be seen when you have the writing on that first test or one of the first tests I did, I believe that the Tract had a better quality at its edge. It seemed to go all the way to the edge. Now, the Vortex was good, but I believe the Tract was better. Glare. I give the higher score to the Tract because I tested the Tract in more harsh angular light than I did the Vortex. Matter of fact, I think the sun had set just below the horizon when I was checking the Vortex. Even in the harsher light, I think the Tract beat back that glare better than the Vortex did when the sun was below the horizon. So finally, it comes down to, I'll be honest, what matters to most people, myself included, the price of the binos. If you look, the Nikon costs 120 bucks typically. Didn't include tax or anything. The Vortex 8x42s cost 240 bucks, and that's their Diamondback HD. It's almost 3 times as much for the Tract Bino. So as far as cost, I wrote off the Aculons. They don't have an edge quality that is even worth 120 bucks if you ask me. And I gave the choice to the Vortex. Now at this point, it's up to you to look at all the qualities that I think the Tract Bino hit better on and decide if that's a value worth your money. The Vortex binos are pretty good. There's no denying it. But the Tract binos are better in a wider range of properties. But is that value worth it to you? That's going to be a decision that you have to make. If you often lose binos or you're hard on binos, sometimes giving out almost $700 is hard to do, knowing it's like a pocket knife. It's hard to buy a good, expensive, custom-made knife if, like me, you're going to leave it by a gut pile half the time. and then have to climb back up and get the damn thing. Anyways, I digress. But it's up to you to determine whether that value is worth it to you. I will say one thing that's very valuable to me is where the items are manufactured. There is a higher value worth more money to me, and that is where a lot of our items are manufactured these days. I have to look at everything I buy these days and determine where I want my money to ultimately go. Okay, that completes it. I'm going to leave the final decision up to you. And then finally, if anybody knows where there's a high quality Poro Prism Bino in 6 to 8 power, would you let me know in the comments? Other than that, go ahead, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. And then, as always, don't forget to get out and explore your nature. Thank you.